Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive. Today we're looking into something pretty interesting, Reddit's financial performance. You sent over some articles, pasted text, I think it was called.
That's right.
And I gotta say, I was surprised by what I read.
Yeah, Reddit's performance this last quarter has been, well, impressive. It seems like they really blew past everyone's expectations. They even turned a profit.
For the first time since going public, right.
Yeah, since the IPO.
I think a lot of people were expecting them to report a loss. It's a pretty impressive turnaround. And those numbers, those were really something. A 68% increase in revenue, that's huge. What was driving that kind of growth?
Well, it seems like a big chunk of that growth can be attributed to their new video ad format. It seems this new format really caught the attention of major brands, and that translated into higher engagement and, of course, more ad revenue for Reddit.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I've definitely noticed more video ads popping up on Reddit myself lately. But for someone who's not, a financial expert, what does this profit, what does it actually mean for Reddit?
Well, a key figure here is what's called the adjusted earnings per share. Now, it might sound complicated, but think of it like this. It's basically a way to measure a company's profitability, but in a way that considers any unusual events. So, any one-time things that might skew the numbers.
Okay, so it gives a clearer picture of how the company is actually doing.
Exactly. And in Reddit's case, it's showing that they're not only growing their revenue, but they're also becoming more efficient at actually making money. And that's a good sign. It means they could potentially invest more in new features, improvements for users like you.
So it's not just good news for Reddit, it's good news for the people who use Reddit.
That's the idea.
Now, besides the financial wins, there's been a lot of talk about the power of Reddit's communities, right? I remember reading that the CEO even said that Reddit is one of the, top Googled words in the entire U.S.
Oh, yeah. And it really highlights just how many people are using Reddit these days to find information and connect with others. It's not just, funny memes and cat videos anymore. People are actively looking for answers, getting involved in serious discussions.
I mean, it is still pretty good for memes, though.
Oh, absolutely.
But you're right. It seems like Reddit is tapping into something, something fundamental about how we're all using the internet now.
Yeah, I think so. If you connect this to the bigger picture, you see a broader trend, right? Online communities are becoming really essential sources of information and support. In a world where we're constantly bombarded with information, people are looking for spaces, for reliable answers, and ways to engage with people who share their interests. And Reddit, with all its diverse communities, seems to be doing a good job of meeting that need.
It's almost like a digital town square. You can find experts and enthusiasts on pretty much any topic you can think of.
That's a great way to put it.
And that's got to be reflected in their user growth too, right? I think they saw a pretty significant jump in daily active users, something like 47% year over year.
Yeah, you got it. It's a clear indication that Reddit is, becoming more and more popular.
But it's not just about ad revenue anymore, is it? I remember something in those articles about other revenue streams.
You're right. This is where things get really interesting. Their other revenue category, it actually saw an almost, well, it's hard to believe, but almost a 547% increase.
Wow, 547%. What's driving that?
A big part of it comes from deals they've made with companies like Google and OpenAI. Essentially, they're licensing user-generated content to be used for AI model training.
So they're letting those AI companies, those giants, learn from all the content created by Reddit users.
Exactly.
That's pretty smart. Can you explain a little bit how this benefits both Reddit and those companies?
Sure. So for Reddit, it's a new source of revenue, right? But for companies like Google and OpenAI, they get access to this massive and really diverse data set to train their AI models with. It's a win-win, and it really shows Reddit's kind of innovative approach to, making money.
Yeah, it seems like they're really moving beyond just relying on advertising. But before we move on, I remember one analyst compared Reddit's journey to a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde story. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, that's a pretty colorful comparison. I think what they meant was, before going public, Reddit was often seen as this, underperforming platform, maybe even a little misunderstood. But now, after the IPO, they're exceeding expectations, innovating in ways people didn't see coming. It's like they've transformed.
So it's a story of transformation and exceeding expectations. It sounds like they figured out how to use their biggest assets, that massive user base and all that diverse content, in a whole new way.
Exactly. And one of the key elements of that transformation, some people call it Reddit's cheat code for user growth. It might sound complicated, but it's actually pretty straightforward.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Break it down for me. What's this cheat code?
So it's all about reaching a wider audience. Basically, Reddit is offering translated content and partnering with Google to boost their visibility in searches. And this opens up the platform to a global audience. It's a powerful way to attract new users.
Okay, so they've got the user growth figured out. They're finding new ways to generate revenue. But what about the future? Are they just riding a wave, or is this sustainable?
Well, their projections for Q4, they paint a pretty optimistic picture. They're forecasting continued strong sales growth, and they're even projecting positive adjusted EBITDA.
Now, hold on. For those of us who might need a refresher, what exactly does adjusted EBITDA tell us?
Well, it basically gives us a look at Reddit's core profitability, showing how much profit they're making from their actual operations. It's a pretty solid indicator of their financial health, and it suggests that they're confident in their ability to control costs and keep generating profit.
So they're not just growing, they're growing in a smart way. But what's driving that confidence? What's contributing to their optimistic outlook?
Well, there are a few factors at play here. First, their core business, advertising, it's doing really well. They're seeing more and more demand from advertisers. I think advertisers are starting to see the value of reaching, those really engaged audiences within all those niche communities on Reddit.
It's like they've cracked the code. They're connecting those advertisers with the perfect audience, people who are already passionate about those specific topics.
Exactly. And then there's that second factor we talked about, that push into new revenue streams. Like licensing all that user-generated content for training AI models, that's turning out to be a pretty successful strategy. It offers a lot of potential for growth.
It's kind of amazing when you think about it. Reddit went from, basically a platform for sharing memes to this valuable data resource for AI.
It really is. And then the third factor, that continued strong user growth, it creates a kind of a virtuous cycle. More users attract more advertisers and partners, which fuels more growth. It's a positive feedback loop.
So thriving communities, smart strategies for making money, and a forward-thinking approach, it sounds like that's their secret sauce. Something I've always found interesting about Reddit is how decentralized it is. Each subreddit, it operates pretty independently. How does that play into their overall strategy?
That's a great question. That decentralized model, it's one of their biggest strengths. It allows for so much diversity, and niche targeting. That's hugely attractive to both users and advertisers. Think about it. You have communities dedicated to everything from rare plants to vintage video games to very specific scientific fields. It creates this amazing space where people with really specific interests can connect with each other and engage on a much deeper level.
It's like this universe of knowledge and passion, all self-organized, curated by the users themselves.
Exactly. And that's a big draw for advertisers, too. They can target their ads to very specific audiences based on their interests. And that usually leads to, higher engagement and better results.
It's a brilliant system, but it must be a challenge to maintain a cohesive platform with so much variation.
That's where their community management team comes in. Reddit has this dedicated team, and they support these communities. They make sure they're following the platform guidelines and help foster a positive, constructive environment. They also use sophisticated algorithms to help users discover relevant subreddits based on what they're already doing on the platform.
So it's a balance between freedom and structure. But let's be real. Reddit has had its fair share of controversies over the years, right? There have been issues with content moderation, misinformation, even some pretty unsavory communities. How are they addressing those challenges?
You're right. Those are definitely valid concerns. And to their credit, Reddit hasn't ignored those issues. They've been working to improve their content moderation policies and how they actually put those policies into practice.
That's good to hear. What specific steps are they taking?
Well, they're using a mix of human moderators and AI-powered tools to try to identify and remove harmful content. And they're also partnering with fact-checking organizations, trying to promote, authoritative sources within the communities to fight against misinformation. It's a multi-pronged approach, which makes sense given, how complex the challenges are.
It sounds like a proactive approach, but I imagine it's an ongoing process. No easy fixes. And they'll need to keep adapting and refining their strategies as new challenges pop up.
Oh, absolutely. It's a constant evolution. And you have to remember that in a lot of ways, online platforms like Reddit, they're a reflection of society as a whole. They have to grapple with the same issues we see offline: misinformation, harmful ideologies, the need to promote healthy interactions online.
So it's not just about technical solutions. It's about creating a culture of responsibility, encouraging positive behavior online.
Exactly. The key is for platforms, especially those like Reddit, to be transparent about their efforts, to actually engage with their communities and constantly try to improve their policies and practices.
Okay, so to recap, Reddit is seeing some pretty remarkable growth, and it's being driven by a few key things: a thriving and diverse community, smart ways of making money, and, I think importantly, a willingness to face challenges head on.
You know, what I find most remarkable is how they've managed to achieve all of this while staying true to their core values.
Mm,
They're empowering those communities, encouraging open dialogue, connecting people with shared interests. It's a good reminder that even in this digital landscape dominated by algorithms and big corporations, authentic connection still matters.
well said. It's clear that Reddit is it's a major player in shaping the online landscape, and their success story is it's worth paying attention to. I'm curious about what this means for online communities in general.
Ah, that's the big question, isn't it? And to really answer that, we need to look beyond just Reddit. Think about the bigger picture, the larger trends that are shaping how we connect and interact online. We're seeing more and more people becoming disillusioned with those traditional social media platforms. You mean the platforms that are often criticized for being all about, superficial interactions and that kind of curated, picture-perfect content?
That's it. People are looking for something more, more authenticity, genuine connection, spaces where they can express themselves freely without being judged. And that's where platforms like Reddit, with their focus on community and shared interests, they have the potential to really step in and fill that gap.
So are you saying that Reddit's success, it could be a sign of a shift in how we think about and engage with online communities? I think it's definitely something to consider. Reddit's growth shows us that people are looking for online spaces that really speak to them, that cater to their intellectual curiosity, their passions, their desire to connect with people who get them. It's about more than just passively scrolling and looking at content. It's about actively participating in conversations, learning from each other, feeling like you belong.
That feeling of belonging, it's so important, especially these days. If Reddit can keep navigating those challenges, content moderation and all that, they could really have a huge impact on shaping online discourse.
Absolutely. Imagine online communities becoming the main places where we share knowledge, engage in civic discussions, and work together to solve problems. Reddit, with all its diverse communities dedicated to every topic under the sun, it could be a leader in that evolution.
That's a pretty exciting thought. But it also brings up some pretty important questions, right? What does this mean for the future of traditional media? How will these evolving online communities affect our lives offline? And maybe most importantly, what role will we each play in shaping that future?
Those are all questions we need to think about as we navigate this ever-changing digital landscape. Those lines between the online world and the offline world are getting blurrier and blurrier all the time. The way we consume information, how we connect with each other, even how we see ourselves, it's all undergoing a massive transformation.
It's definitely an exciting time to be witnessing this evolution. And for you, the listener, here's something to think about. If Reddit's trajectory tells us anything, it's that the future of online communities is bright, but it's also in our hands.
We have the power to shape these spaces, to make sure they're positive and productive. So go explore, dive into the world of Reddit, see what happens when you connect with people who share your passions. You might be surprised by what you find. Who knows? You might even find your new online home. I think the main takeaway here is it's that Reddit's success, it really shows the power of community online. It shows that people are still looking for authentic connections, for spaces where they can, I don't know, share what they're passionate about and learn from each other. And as technology keeps changing, keeps getting better, I think we're going to see even more innovative ways for online communities to connect and grow.
That's a great point. What would you say to someone who, maybe they're a little intimidated by Reddit, like if they want to check it out, but it seems overwhelming?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a huge platform with so much going on,
Yeah.
but that's also kind of what makes it so great.
Yeah.
My advice would be to, just start small. Think about what you're interested in. Is it, I don't know, cooking or video games, books, whatever. There's a subreddit for pretty much anything you can think of. Just start exploring. You might be surprised by how passionate those communities are and how much great information you can find.
It really is like having this whole world of knowledge and expertise right there at your fingertips,
Yeah,
and it's constantly changing, growing.
exactly. And remember, you don't have to be an expert to participate. Reddit is a place for everyone to learn, share, connect.
So to our listener, if you're curious about Reddit, I definitely recommend giving it a try. You might be surprised by what you discover. Who knows? You might even find your new online home.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive into the world of Reddit. We hope you found it informative, maybe even a little inspiring.
And remember, the future of these online communities, it's being shaped right now. So get out there, explore, connect, be a part of it all.
Until next time, keep diving deep.